So I discovered this week that I am just really bad at relaxing. Like I can't make myself relax. Yesterday I was trying to just play a computer game. Like I went on a hike and that was fine. So I was able to, if I leave the house, I can go and relax. So I went on a 7 mile hike at Fort Yago State Park, which is actually really fun. It was actually really nice. They're draining the lake right now, so it was a little not, the coolest, but it was beautiful scenery. I got lost. I got to see a lake. I saw a kingfisher and one turtle. I came home and I was trying to play this video game, and I was trying to play the video game, and then I would just go and do something on this project I'm working on, and then I'd be like, no, I'm trying to relax right now. Like I'm not trying to get work done. And then I would get some video gaming in, and then I'd be like, well, let me fix just one more thing. And it was ridiculous. Like I just didn't relax. I just stayed up until 11:30 working on this thing that I told myself I didn't need to do, and I don't. There's no time. I also have this recurring dream, and it's really stupid. It's where I'm in AP US History, which I wasn't in high school, and for whatever reason, I have failed to do some assignment. I'm not actually sure. Sometimes the premise sort of changes based on the dream day, but all right, so I haven't done this assignment. And for whatever reason, my professor or teacher, Mr. Bungarden, thinks I've done the assignment because he sends me back notes on my draft, and he's like, these are the things I think you should change about this draft that you sent in. And I know personally that I did not actually send in a draft, so he's giving me notes back on someone else's paper. But I don't want to tell him that because I'm like, shit, I didn't do this assignment. And so time has gone by, and so what happens is that I had that dream once, and now I have dreams that I still haven't done the assignment that I didn't do in that first dream. And it's ridiculous because I wake up and I'm like, no, I'm in grad school. I'm not in AP US History. It doesn't matter. Even if I hadn't done it, it's been, 6 years since I was in AP US History? But my brain is like, no, let's worry about this perpetually. So I just keep waking up and being like, crap, I gotta work on that project. And I don't. So that's really annoying. I guess the good news is it's I wake up and I'm like, oh, I know that was a dream. Pretty much. Once I'm fully awake, I know that was a dream. But at the same time, I would just prefer not to have any stress dreams. So I have been teaching myself R, and I'm not super familiar with the programming language. It's something that luckily is very simple to just kind of Google, and then if you find the right explanations for the questions that people ask, you can then be like, oh, okay, I see how their code works, so I'm just going to steal little bits of their code. So all I want to do basically was say, here's a sample area. Here's the boroughs that I know, but my observer doesn't know, or this is the population of things that they could find. And then I want to lay down transects that I'm walking through my sample area and sampling, and there are certain restrictions on how these transects are set up, but they're basically evenly spaced throughout a certain area that I've decided I'm going to sample. And then I want every time a borough is within a certain site range or transect, I want the program to evaluate it, or the observer to evaluate it, and then see, okay, it's a certain distance from me. So would I see it? What's the probability, first of all, that I see it? So it has to evaluate that, put it into an equation, say, okay, you got a 40% chance of seeing this. And then I run it through a binomial equation and say, did I see it? Did I not see it? And if it says yes, then okay. So it gives me a 1. And it does this for size of the borough, distance that the borough is from the observer, and some sort of vegetation thing, which is actually right now currently just non-existent. I have it equal to you have a 100% chance of seeing it, no vegetation. But the idea is that once I get a vegetation equation, I can stick it in there. And then I say, okay, so now this borough has 3 columns of characteristics. Was it detected because of this? Was it detected because of that? Was it detected because of this? And if that number is equal to 3, then I want it to plot those points. Which basically means if I found the borough, I want it to say I found the borough. And if I didn't find the borough because one of any of those 3 reasons, I want it to not show up. And this should be very simple. This is actually, when I think about it, is really not that hard once I figured it out. But I just have never really done that kind of thing before. So I was like, oh man, how do I measure distance? How am I going to, what am I going to do? Oh man, it was just a massive disaster. And it took me multiple hours to figure out that I didn't need some sort of graphical software. So I was thinking oh shoot, if I have locations, how am I going to measure? Because part of the design, the sampling design I'm trying to say is that you measure perpendicular distance between yourself and the point that you are looking at. Shoot, how am I going to measure that? And then I realized, this might sound kind of dumb, that if I am a point and I am moving up a line, at some point my y value is going to be the same. So really the perpendicular distance is just if I subtract one x value from the other x value. And that took me a very long time to figure out. So that was really dumb. So I did all that. And then I was like, oh, I want to animate it. So I produced this thing. And I'm kind of proud of it. But it's ridiculous because the truth is that it shouldn't take me that long to figure out how it works. But so now I have this, and now what I want to do is I want to say, okay, every time it does that, I want it to tell me, I want it to also graph, not in addition to what boroughs I found, I also want it to give me a graph of like what the distribution of boroughs is in relation to the distance from the line that they were seen from. And then the idea is that you then make a curve to that and you multiply it by certain things, and that's how you figure out like a histogram of the population, or like, oh, I want to know the age structure of the population I'm surveying, or what do I think the entire population is, you know? So I want to I've done this like preemptive part, but now I need to like multiply it by equations, and I think I'll be able to figure that out because now that I have the basics set up, it should be fairly easy to just run it through some more equations. But you know, the time to learn a programming language on your own without any instruction, or rather to have your advisor tell you to do something in a programming language that you have no idea about. The idea, like, you should probably learn that programming language before it becomes a critical part of your master's thesis. You should not wait until it is a critical part of your master's thesis and due on Wednesday before you're like, oh, I guess I should maybe learn that language. So that's what we learned this week. I should learn things before I say I can do them. But I'm a doofus sometimes. While I was making this video, I was like, oh, I'll just go and like eat lunch or something. So I went and ate lunch. I made some tea. It's great. And then on the way back, I ended up redoing my art program and making histograms instead because I had been talking about it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go do that. Which is stupid because once again, I'm trying to relax and I can't relax. So I think that's going to be the theme of grad school, is that it's going to be when I'm really busy, I'm like, oh, let me find a billion things to do that are not my homework. And then when I actually don't have much to do, I'm just going to be unable to relax because I'm like, ooh, there's something I could do. Which I guess is good. Like, it's a good sign that I enjoy what I'm doing.